This meeting is being recorded.
This meeting is being recorded. This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, am I audible? TC? Am I audible? Hello. Hello. Okay. So I'm audible now, right? Sure. Should I start? TC? Okay. Hello. Hello. Okay, great. So I'll start now. Hey everyone. I hope all of you are having a great time in Paris. Thanks, Celo, for organizing this event. This blockchain is glad to be part of this amazing university guild, and we look forward to great collaborations with other universities for the greater good of the ecosystem. I'm Nishil Jain, the lead of BIS Blockchain Club. BIS Pilani is one of the best undergrad engineering college in India, next to only the prominent IITs. Our club, BIS Blockchain, aims to onboard more students of BIS Pilani to the Web3 space by providing the right resources needed to accelerate. In the slides ahead, I will try to brief everyone about the growing blockchain ecosystem in India and the potential it holds. You might have heard about India because of the vibrant culture, the temples and gods, because of the Indian food, because of Mahatma Gandhi and his ideologies, and of course, the Taj Mahal. But there is another side of India that you might not have heard about. India is becoming the global hub for innovation with the third largest startup ecosystem with 79 unicorns. India gave the world CEOs like Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella, and IT service giants like TCS and Infosys. Indian youth was quick to learn software development and is yet again in the pursuit of becoming an integral part of the blockchain boom. India has a unique strategy for the government to take the lead in public digital infrastructure and allowing private sector innovation to leverage it for further development. Over the past decade, India has successfully created foundational digital infrastructure envisaged to enable private sector applications running on top of it. India has created a uniquely Indian model of digital foundational infrastructure such as Aadhaar, UPI, e-sign and DigiLocker, along with digitally enabled tax government networks like GSTN or digitally enabled health coverage such as Pradhan Mantri Jan Arojin Yojana, which is PMJ. India, with proven success of Aadhaar and UPI, thus has an inherent advantage in pursuing commercial scale blockchain solutions. The Indian government is actively using this for land title registry, vehicle life cycle management, farm insurance, and electronic health record management. This says a lot as to the awareness, willingness, and pace at which blockchain is aimed at being imbibed into the social economic fabric of the country. India's major crypto adoption drive came during the 2017 bull run, which is also the time when some important Indian crypto startups like Polygon, WazirX, CoinDCX, CoinSwitch Kuber, and more emerged. While CoinSwitch, WazirX, and CoinDCX are some crypto centralized exchanges targeting Indian markets, Polygon has made a giant leap and has made its name in the global blockchain industry. It aims to become third biggest chain only after ETH and BTC, and it certainly has made its mark by signing partnerships with big players like Disney, Meta, Reddit, Stripe, and DraftKings. The bull run of 2021 in India has again seen the rise of amazing startups like cross-chain asset transfer platform Router Protocol, Zoom for Web3 Huddle, powerful blockchain DeFi management in startup. The 21 bull run has also seen global VC interest getting diverted towards India. Players like Sequoia, Hash, and many more have started their Indian startup surge. There are few prominent Indian universities where blockchain courses and a significant number of professors have been actively researching on blockchain-based use cases. Indian engineering colleges like IITs, BITS have been seen to acknowledge the growing industry through a few open courses and research programs going on in the space. There is great interest amongst the young population of India in the growing blockchain industry. We believe that industry leads the IT industry with Infosys and TCS. It will yet again make its mark in the crypto industry. There are quite a few companies and influencers like Learn Web3 DAO, Super Team DAO, etc., who are trying to onboard more people in the space. With this, I shall open this to questions that you might have about the Indian ecosystem and about the club, this blockchain club, and any other question that you want to might want me to answer.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, I think I can hear you.
Yeah, so currently, or just wondering kind of what drew you guys into blockchain and how you guys first got interested in it.
As an individual or as a club?
Individually or whichever. Yeah,
For
individually and also curious kind of about the origins of your club and what kind of activities your club's involved in.
That's a good question. So, as for me, I interested about decentralization as a whole, and I started reading about how the central players like Meta, mostly Meta, uses our data uh, to frame our thoughts and how it's impacting our day-to-day lives. Then I got into decentralization, and from there I Bitcoin, and then it was a rabbit hole. We all know that it's a contagious space, and once you start reading about it, it's very hard to uh, hard to then jump back to Web two. So since once I got into Bitcoin, I started reading about I started reading a slightly about, then I started reading about Ethereum. Then it has been like I have started working for an incubator program and a VC. So from there, it has always been Web three. And as for the club, we at BITS, BITS is a very well known engineering institute of India, and uh, still blockchain wasn't a big thing here, and people did not know much about it, and that really drove me to open a blockchain club because there had to be good potential. There are very good potential students who can use this technology and make really good startups out of bits because startups are a thing at Bits Plani. So I thought it is well new that we start a blockchain club. And as for what the club does, we recently hosted a Web3 week all over India. It was an online event, and we hosted pitch tank events for startups to pitch their ideas. We had hackathon. We had 3 panel discussions. We had workshops from Lone Web3 DAO. We had partners like Polygon, Celo, Filecoin, uh, and other big Arcana by Economy. And what we aim to do in the future is that we are aiming to have 3 verticals, which will be where we can take external consulting projects for companies who want to explore what Web3 is about and how they can use it in their companies. Then second is that we're thinking of building a resource for the whole of BITS Pilani students. From there, they can start their journey to Web3. It will be a resource from where you won't need anything else to read about. And then third is that we plan to have a cohort for all the startups that come out of BITS. So we plan to bring on VCs and other big experts from India and build a concentrated cohort from where if there is a startup who wants to go big, they can definitely join that cohort and get themselves accelerated. That are some of the future plans that we have. Definitely, we're open to other things that come along our way.
Sure, that was a great response. Okay, whole lot of, yeah, awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. It was really nice talking with you. Bye bye.
Thanks. If there's anyone who wants to chat, you can ping me on Telegram or Twitter. Happy to chat. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for having me here.
Bye.
Hello.
Hi, Ashil.
All right.
We're good to get started now.
Okay. Thank you. It's really a pleasure for me to speak the change and to represent in this great community, to represent Africa in this great community. So before to move on, I want to introduce myself. So my name is Ashil, computer science student at Africa Leadership University. And my hobbies is blockchain, cybersecurity, and game development. African leadership, and we can use KRYPTOSPHERE to describe my university success, innovation, and Pan-Africanism. Basically, African leadership is a Pan-African university that bring together students from all over the African continent who are passionate about challenge and innovation. And the community is grouped on different African countries, such as Mauritius and Rwanda and other countries. So I need to give some aspect before. I need to give some my agenda, like my first experience with blockchain, blockchain evolution in African education, and users case and the blockchain industry in Africa. So my first experience, my first interaction with blockchain, I can describe in just one word that I can say confused, because my first experience was like Celo during my internship. I was supervised by Benjamin Spiken. I remember before I started, we had to collect a different document and slide to read. But to be honest, it was hard to understand what they could be used for. And I watched different videos to know what is was all about, to be well informed before the beginning of my internship and to be fixed. I took me a will to understand the role of the blockchain, because I was wondering what it could be really do. The understanding was better during my internship. We follow courses that have been offered by CELAB and Goland Security for better preparation. But also our teaching house on writing a smart contract, deploying, creating, detecting, reorganizing and correcting flows on the smart contract and many other things. So to move, I want to show you an aspect on blockchain education in Africa. We know blockchain is very new in Africa, and at the moment, blockchain in terms of education is still in infancy. And we can see the creation of different community and people who are more passionate about blockchain. This has not escaped of the eyes of African education system, but we can observe that some countries are starting to introduce blockchain at course in the university. The adoption of blockchain is not yet total, but it has a good evolution. And the importance of the blockchain has been noticed in the recent year by the African education system. And we can see Johannesburg started to offer a course on blockchain, and in Namibia offer a master in blockchain. This example is just to give a small evolution of blockchain in Africa education. I can take one aspect on my university. Actually, in Africa Leadership, we are creating a club support by Celo that will help to raise awareness of this new innovation, but also to build a strong community of developers and people passionate about blockchain. And we can show we want to show young students that blockchain is an opportunity for everyone, not only for those who have a background on computer science. So basically, the different systems are being set up to promote blockchain in African education. I want to show the blockchain industry and the users case in Africa. So to describe blockchain in Africa, we can use three words: building, evolution, and usage, because blockchain is building on a stable community in Africa. We can observe the establishing of startup and evolution, because view on blockchain is changing, and we can see our demand for power or knowledge in high demand. And blockchain is already used and explored in some area. So to give an overview of the blockchain industry in Africa, I want to take I want to start from a particular aspect to general aspect. I will take a specific section of my specific country, which is Rwanda, my place of residence currently. And the blockchain industry is not yet extensive, but in Rwanda, you can see integration of the user blockchain in different sectors that are encouraged by Rwanda government. And the use is most request in the security and financial domain. One of the use case of blockchains that I have noticed is the field of land title. I can take Ubutaka app. Ubutaka is a paperless registration web application designed to use by the land manager, notaries, and registration to increase the efficiency, security, and accessibility of the land transfer by the volunteer seller. And through the blockchain is allow one or more trusted party to digital sign document certifying that a particular cryptographic key belongs a particular user of Davis, thus making the key the user identify in digital network and storage better protection and digital SIM document to make it difficult to modify, hack, or fix the system. Okay, I'm talking about just to show some aspect of the blockchain, but in some concrete, we can see a better integration of blockchain as Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa, which represent a large part of the use of the blockchains in Africa. Here we have the revenue of country. We have invested heavily in the blockchain industry. Nigeria, South Africa, Seychelles, and Kenya, they alone represent 96% of the blockchain industry. And other countries have followed the example. This shows that the blockchain market is booming, but it's lagging behind in some area of the continent. And Africa remains of opportunity because blockchain can solve the specific challenge of the continent. Countries that seeing some growth in blockchain through startup have increased the capital during 2021 period, and according to TH, this shows that that Africa remain an important market and in industry blockchain remain an important market in the blockchain industry. So I want to show some case in Africa that we can use blockchain. Personally, during my internship with Celo, I was trained more on smart contract security. But I think blockchain is an innovation that is adequate for the problem that African face, but also can allow improve the capital of the African countries. So the use case of the blockchain in Africa are more focused on identification, I mean security in general, and big data. I have listed an example which Ubutaka application before. One of the most common activity in cryptocurrency blockchains allow those in country with unstable currency or financial infrastructure to have a more stable currency, with more application and a wide network of the individual institution which they can do business, both national and international. But we must have an African startup that specializes in money transfer, generally use blockchain to transfer money more cheaply, improve the time it takes to the transfer money, and allow the business to operate 24 hours a day. To sum up, the blockchain is industry working to provide stability and security in any field. To conclude, blockchain is currently experiences at a rate of positive evolution, which can even be seen through this community that's no-getter people from all walks of the life. No continent is spared by this innovation that can be a solution to many problems in the world, especially for the continent, the African continent, which has not yet deployed its full technology potential, which face construction that could be hollow, is to be an important industry market of blockchain. Today is not yet dispersed not on the continent and maybe absent in some part of the globe. But I think that innovation has not brought no limit. So it will be difficult to, in the near future, to do which how blockchain this asset can be bring in different area. So I'm done, and I want to say thank you all. Merci.
Does anyone have any questions?
Hello.
Bye.
In your presentation, you had a lot of really cool examples of how either the countries or have been taking advantage of blockchain on like an infrastructure level, which is pretty cool. Like you noted the example of the university and the digital land claiming. Why do you think the kind of integration of those technologies has come almost faster in Africa than we've seen maybe for those similar sorts of infrastructure things in other countries?
Okay. I think the first challenge that Africa has is security and basically to preserve the data. So I think blockchains can be, because I mentioned it before as an example. So I think blockchains basically can solve that problem, because in Africa we are not we don't have a really potential we don't have a really potential to serve or to secure our data. And I think maybe blockchain can solve that problem, because it's like we first need to have a decentralization part, and we can maybe try to first because actually we don't have a external blockchain in the continent, so we can just first have start to make some seminar to show off the people that blockchain is really important, and give the opportunity of the blockchain for different industry, because the people are not actually increased, are not actually don't have honestly the interaction with blockchain currently. But if you can show a opportunity on the advantage of the blockchain, I think we can be on any area of the industry.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hello.
So thank you for your presentation. There are some interesting examples. I've been talking also with some companies, for example, from mining industries or similar thing for supply chain is really interesting as well, because it's really helpful in this field, especially because you have so many issues about some local, how would I say, kind of not terrorism, but kind of controlling things over, and that's really interesting for that. I wondered about geography, if there are some areas that are more blockchain receptive than others. If you see from your side at least some issues about areas that are very reluctant to adopt a blockchain.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Achille, did you hear the question?
No, can you come again, please?
Yes, the question was basically if geographically speaking, some countries are kind of still reluctant to blockchain. Or I don't know much about the areas in Africa, so just if you know about it a bit, so you can share this point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can maybe go back there. Okay, I can. Okay, like I mentioned that blockchain are really new in Africa. So the most country we use blockchain, which use blockchain, is Nigeria and Kenya. But for example, on this part, we can see, for example, Cameroon, Egypt, and Burkina Faso. And Cameroon, we use we try to actually incorporate blockchain on the system. So I think the evolution is slow. is really slow, but some of the concrete can take example from Nigeria or South Africa, but actually the blockchain is really slow on some part in Africa.
Yeah.
So that means,
Well, my question
yeah.
is mostly is that okay, you have some many projects on these countries, which is interesting, and I've seen some of them.
Okay.
However,
Okay.
in terms of governance, I've seen some places were kind of reluctant and kind of putting some barriers to it. Anyway, we're going
This
out
one?
of time, so I can go with the next question anyway.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Not worry. It's your question.
Hi, Achille. Very cool presentation. It's
Thank you.
more of just a general question in wonder, like which exchange or what crypto apps are most used in your community or in your country? Like I know that in Nigeria, everyone they use Binance a lot. Is that the same case in Rwanda?
Yeah, it's the same case in Rwanda. But the challenge that we have, the issue that we have in Rwanda is the cryptocurrency are not totally legal in Rwanda. But I think we can use some platform the same in Nigeria and Kenya.
So the process, if you wanted to buy some Celo, for example,
Yeah.
what would be the steps to make that happen?
Well, let's see. I'm not. Okay, you can still have the same process like with Valora, and to know how we can do it, honestly, I don't know, but I think you can still use the same process for the other part. But the last time with Umar, the representative of Celo in Africa, we actually tried to see how we can do it and how we can buy the crypto normally, like in Nigeria or another part in Africa.
Okay, understood. Well,
Yeah.
congrats for leading the way in your country.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are out of time. So thank you very much, Nishil and Ashil.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you very much, and we'll have to move on to the pen presentation on startups, accelerators in the university clubs. So I will welcome Chunda and June.
Okay. Yeah, June, did you send them the presentation? All right. We have it set up. We're not any of those schools. No, we should be Pennsylvania. I don't. No, but none of those. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, go back to the morning folder. Yeah. Pen. There we go. All right, bet.
So I'll kick it off. My name's June. This is Chunda. I lead governance at Penn for our governance initiative, and Chunda is one of the co-presidents under our original, club structure. We'll go more in depth, but we're rebranding and focusing more so on our DAO in the coming semesters. But just for the purpose of this presentation, we'll give an overview of Franklin Dao, and then go into our startup culture and incubator, and then finally finish up with any questions.
Yeah, so I'll give kind of an intro as to like the history of
So Franklin Dao was really born out of what was originally Penn Blockchain, as it says on my shirt. Penn Blockchain was founded back in 2017 by mostly a group of graduate students from Penn that really wanted to capture the attention of the bull market and translate it to like on-campus education. And so over the years, we've kind of subsumed a whole bunch of different operations and expanded that over time. And recently, we've looked into the possibility of actually instantiating a DAO. And I'll go into like a little bit of the inspiration of like why we did that and a little bit of the process later. But essentially, like what we have right now is you can think of as like a two-entity system. We have Franklin Dao, which exists as a like student-run off-campus entity focused on taking the crypto native and bringing them an introduction of what it's like to contribute in the Web3 space, and also like what it's like to make a career and being a springboard for students who are looking to make a career in the Web3 space. And Penn Blockchain is really kind of like a haven for the crypto curious, where we do cohort-based learning, looking to actually bring on people that maybe have heard of blockchain, heard of Web3, but really haven't had a sense of like the fundamental understanding of like what's really going on behind the scenes. And so that's kind of like the system that we have now. And we'll go into a little bit more like how the DAO is instantiated and some of the like context behind that in the following slides.
All right, awesome. So next up is committees. So our club in our DAO will be structured in the sense of, I want to say like 7 or 8 different committees. So there's an executive board, which consists of 3 co-presidents as well as a treasurer. 3 co-presidents, Shun is one of them, another undergraduate student, and then a master's degree student as well. Just I guess as a heads up, our DAO and our club covers all schools at University of Pennsylvania. So undergraduate, the 4 undergraduate colleges, all master's degrees, and as well as postdoctorate and doctorate schools as well. From committee wise, so we have like education, which does educational seminars, and I think a lot of the different schools already covered some of their educational initiatives, and I think ours are pretty similar. We also have events, so that will focus in three main things, which is a training competition and then a hackathon, as well as our Penn conference, which will be in the springtime. So most everyone here, definitely expect an invite within the next 7 or 8 months per se. Also, we have investments, so non-dilutive grants, as well as doing due diligence and sourcing for respective VC firms, and sort of as a per project basis involvement. We also have research. So last semester it revolved around doing like Masari work, some Prime DAO stuff, anything sort of that comes up that we find worthwhile for both ourselves and then as well as the company that we're doing work for, any thing regarding there. And then also finally, a few other things like operations, internal, and stuff like that. But from another outward facing arm is governance. So we do, I think, current governance for around 7 or 8 different protocols, Uniswap, Aave, Compound, Maker, a lot of the biggest DeFi blue chips that you see. Our governance is definitely, I'd say it's like rather well fledged for University DAO, and definitely will be significantly improving over the next few months and next few semesters. I think right now we're sort of trying to spearhead both delegation in a sense of increasing more protocols, as well as increasing the number of delegate votes that we have per protocol, and then also bettering our internal communications as well as how we express our votes. So whether that's being more active in forums, being more active within each community, proposing initiatives within each protocol, and as well as just getting involved with more stakeholders. A lot of the times we see this program started off maybe around a year or so ago when Andreessen through their whole university program, and since then we've expanded to getting delegations from almost half a dozen different VCs and different whales or stakeholders. One of the biggest things I think in this sense is being more active than just purely submitting a yes or no vote. Everyone's all happy until you submit a no vote, right? And until then, you sort of have to give out reasoning and sort of I guess sort of say why not. And I guess just as an overall like strongly opinionated person, I think governance is one of the best ways to stay in touch with VCs and stakeholders. It establishes a nice working relationship through the entire year. that you don't have to try the hardest to maintain, but there's always connections and such when you do.
Yeah, so now I'll go a little bit into the context of like why we instantiated DAO. If we were a student run club before, like, okay, well, why run like this two entity system? So Penn Blockchain, the club, like I said, was instantiated in 2017, and really it wasn't until this past year where I had a conversation with Jonathan Allen, who is the founder of blockchain at Berkeley and one of the largest stakeholders at BitDAO, where he said, he really saw university campuses as kind of like the breeding grounds for innovation, as well as the breeding grounds for like real contribution for like young and aspiring people who are trying to make impact in the Web3 space. So he came to me with a proposal, and he was like, "What if I can get some interest in creating like a coalition of university DAOs that we could like seed funding for?" And I said, "Well, that sounds like a great idea." And so came forth the birth of EduDAO, also known as Education DAO, of which is a coalition of, I believe, like the top like 7 or 8 most longstanding like blockchain university organizations in the world. So you have like Cambridge, Oxford, Penn, Berkeley, USC, Columbia, Harvard, I believe is the majority. I think Tsinghua too, in China. And so with those like that coalition in mind, Jonathan raised $33 million from the BitDAO like institution, pledged over 3 years to delegate to all of these universities, and helped really kind of like spark that seed of like, all right, let's go and take what you guys are doing and now accelerate that impact. And really, a DAO was the logical next step for how to support this infrastructure and how to make sure we did it in like a Web3 native way, right? It's not only up to us to actually do that contribution, but we also wanted to do it in a way where it aligned with kind of the ethos of what we were contributing to. That, and also legal. It makes legal a lot more easier. And so with that, we now have that system where we have Franklin Dao as kind of like the real kind of like activist group, where we're really like contributing to the space in a really concentrated manner. And then we have the Penn blockchain or like entities still existing within the school as well, to make sure we can have a foothold with the current student base.
All right, so for future events and plans, I'll cover events. As I said, we're going to have a trading competition. I think, this has been sort of harped upon many times, but, funding is still, I think, during like a more bull run cycle, funding was definitely, like everyone was throwing money at a lot of these, bigger clubs. And I think even now, still in a bear market, a lot of like funding is not the hardest, but it's definitely a little less like options to choose from. Maybe beforehand, there's definitely programs and initiatives where everyone was giving out like money by the handful, and now you almost have to sort of negotiate like single one-off contract per se regarding different events. We're going to have a trading competition this semester, and then our hackathon and Penn Blockchain Conference will be in the spring. If any of you were there for the Harvard Blockchain Conference in person, our goal is to have something pretty similar, if not better. And definitely invite pretty much everyone here to attend. It will most likely be in some hotel in Philly for the weekend with speakers and the whole shebang.
Yeah, and taking a step back and looking at plans from like a little bit of a larger scale when it comes to the organization as a whole. Personally, it comes in 2 goals. One, the first being the most important to me is I want to kind of have the DAO as kind of like a stepping stone for anyone who's really wanting to make their stake in Web3, which is like essentially a pipeline for if you do really want to make an impact in this industry, if you can and you have like the chops to join the DAO and really contribute at the baseline level of expectation that we set for our members, then you will be able to find a place in this industry, and we'll welcome you into the fold and make sure that you're taken care of. And I want that to, no matter what you do, whether you're a dev, whether you want to go into PD, whether you want to go to VC, whether or not you want to just be a creator. We really want to be like that kind of foothold for people to lean on, as a network, as friends, and as experience that people can really leverage for their own like futures. Outside of that, it would also be nice to be the university DAO that manages the most independent funding out of all of them that currently exist. I'd say like we're somewhat in a good position to do so, but that's kind of like the multi-year goal as well. Really want to leverage how much impact we can give to founders coming out of our ecosystem, and I think by starting off and really showcasing that we can have an impact on the student level and with our like undiluted grant issue program that I'll speak about a little bit later. Really want to have that be the beginning of something that can be a lot bigger in the future.
So I'll start off with our startup culture and what we've sort of done before, and Shun will follow up with non-dilutive grants and as well as our future plans in regarding financial help as well. So startup life at Penn is really, really big, not just Web3, but there's definitely a maybe like underlying sort of ambition to sort of create something. And in the Web3 space, right, there's quite a few different programs and different maybe, I guess, accelerators and incubators and such on campus. We'll talk about like our Penn blockchain internal one in the sense of how we sort of help out different protocols and different companies that are trying to build in the Web3 space. I guess up until very recently, a lot of the support has sort of just been like, hey, everyone in the community is pretty well connected. A lot of our club is, business school, which is Wharton. I sort of joke that Wharton is 4 years of a networking exercise, and I do believe that is true to some degree. When it comes to sort of different projects building, and definitely in the space, having friends that know a lot of other people is something that is very valuable in my opinion. We are pretty much one connection and one Telegram message away from a lot of the most well-known people in the space. I think at one point in time we could probably I think we still can sort of connect and talk with I guess anyone you'd like to within 2 degrees. Right now there's a lot of projects that we'll stay building are sort of stealth, and so I don't want to dox them. But a lot of projects that in the DeFi realm have come out of Penn. Also, additionally, maybe in addition to just like connections and support, we have sort of like I guess education for people who are initially trying to learn and how to start on their project on their own, as well as sort of channels to not only get advisors from university professors, but as well as MBAs and other people who are a lot more knowledgeable in the space. I think Penn as a whole is doing a lot of strides in increasing not only their advisories, but also their, I guess, native professors. I think this semester we hired maybe 4 or 5 more blockchain and some DeFi-oriented professors and, I guess, faculty members, as well as some of like the leading blockchain researchers and professors also teach at Penn. I think we're, I guess, maybe lucky enough to be in a center where there's still a decent amount of financial activity going on. And usually, especially now with Zoom, everyone is very, very more than willing to, hop at the very least, hop on a call for an hour.
Yeah. So like June said, there's been a really kind of like robust history when it comes to like the foothold of like blockchain innovation at Penn, especially at the startup level. I mean, Arthur Hayes built BitMEX while he was at Penn. Leshner also built Compound like right after he graduated. And there's been a lot of the foundational projects in the ecosystem have come from Penn alum. And so really we want to kind of ensure that we could accelerate that and not only depend on alum, but also depend on our fellow peers. And that was the idea behind our non-dilutive grant program. So from BitDAO's kind of like allocated resources, expect to allocate anywhere between the range of I think around hopefully around $150 to $200,000 in non-dilutive grants per semester to founders coming out of Penn. And like one of the biggest things that we focus on is focusing on founders first, because it's very easy, especially when working in a space where like precedence, especially early mover precedence, is like everything, to focus on making sure we can support and make bets on the students that are really starting off in the space anew, and also trying to branch out and do a little bit more risk heavy things when it comes to like the type of innovations that they're going for. And so like my philosophy, honestly, when it comes to our support, when it comes to founders, is we support founders, not businesses, right? That you can go to VCs and find support for good businesses, but you can less often go to VCs and find good support for good founders, especially in an economy like this. And that's what we want to focus on. And so the way our non-dilutive grants program works is as such. Usually we have two ways. We either reach out to students, or students can scope us out because we have a decent presence on campus. And from that process, they'll talk to us about their needs. They'll usually schedule calls with leadership and the head of the investment arm, talk a little bit about their needs, talk about a little bit about what they're building, roadmaps, and so on and so forth. And we'll sit down, have a conversation, and walk through kind of a distinct milestone-based plan on when it comes to allocations and at what point and what milestones are things going to be allocated, and making sure we have like kind of directive focused things. Because when you're investing in founders and not businesses, it's important to set that basis of integrity and set that basis of kind of like consistent work, and making sure that they're hitting the KPIs that they need to. And not only that, we focus on also leveraging the entire community to help, right? Our like kind of incubator and like grant system is not just, we cut you a 5-figure check and, like step back. It's, we cut you the 5-figure check. We also help you make your go-to-market plan. And then we, talk to all of our students that work in VC firms and like, all right, here's how you're going to start raising. Here's at what point you need to be before you start raising. Here are all the problems with your product. Here's all the potential solutions. Oh, you need technical help on something here. We're going to help you support that. So it's really kind of like an all hands on deck, kind of like foundational founder support program. And really like the underlying basis is like that we're providing funding to a certain extent, but that funding is like essentially no strings attached, hence the non-dilutive aspect of it. And it's really all about like making sure our community is able to prop itself up based on the work of the members. So that's a little bit about like how the grant system is structured within the DAO.
Yeah, and so I think this is a little corny, right? But the most valuable thing for a lot of these students is time, right? And there's an opportunity cost to doing everything. So the initial thing and the main thing we want to like get people over is the hump into getting into starting whenever you want to start, right? Whenever a lot of people have really great ideas, but they might not have like a little bit of capital needed to start, or maybe like the time and commitment to do so, right? They could be working for like Amazon, Apple, or whatever other company, right, and probably get paid a rather decent internship salary. And so this like sort of the funding needed, right, is not much in the grand scheme of things, but it's enough to offset the opportunity cost of working elsewhere, right? Is a good step zero in order for them to start their product and eventually raise most likely a pretty decently funded round. And any time from like 0 to 1 is sort of where we try our best to get them to that stage. And I think just to end off things, we'd love to take any questions.
Yeah.
Cool presentation, guys. Just question: when you said you hired faculty and teachers, this is faculty from the school, from Penn, and like, is that?
Yeah, so we don't actually hire them. They're just part of the faculty, and they actually act as advisors in our ecosystem. And so we set aside a specific role for like alumni and advisors to be, because another important thing is like we only allow students to actually have like vote bearing membership in the NFT. The advisors and alumni within the organization simply act in kind of like assistant participatory role. But yes, we do have active participation from faculty. Yeah.
To kind of like piggyback off that question, do you ever see like faculty, the people that are involved, moving with like on-chain interactions, or do you kind of see them as that participatory role, not bridging that gap?
What do you mean by on-chain in particular?
Well, so you reference, like you said, only students are capable to have that NFT membership or whatnot. Why not extend a different or some other form of token or something to an outside entity?
Yes. So when it comes to, well, I'll answer the question in two parts. So one, why not token to outside entities? The reason for that is we're one of the kind of like aspects of our instantiation is we want to be kind of like our university ecosystem focused when it came to contributions. So when it comes to like actually focusing on the people that are there in the community, we want to make sure like they're the ones that get priority when it comes to making decisions, having agency, things like that, and extending that thinking to, okay, why not extend like voting rights to, let's say, faculty or like advisors or other sort. Well, it's about setting a precedent to maintain agency of the student. It's easy to say like, because we're the ones that built it, like here, that okay, of course we're gonna have agency, but what about 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line? These faculty will be here then, but the students will be different. But we still want to make sure we maintain that precedent of students having the agency to make the decisions needed to benefit the community, and making sure that it doesn't necessarily become too bureaucratic and fall into the hands of like the uni. Because I mean, being honest, universities are still very touch and go when it comes to being comfortable about blockchain initiatives on campus and things like that. So. Yeah.
And I guess at the very end, it's like, what's the point, right? I feel like so many times you create these tokens and you create these random things on chain just to do so, right? And it's like, what extra utility are you actually adding? From an advisor standpoint, like if we have like an advisor token per se, right? I mean, like what extra stuff, what extra utility maybe would that add? I think a lot of it sort of deals with like, your advisor, you're most likely going to be a subject matter in some field. We'll take advice from you and we'll take, as much, as we need per se. But at the end of the day, like, having this token with this like issuance and this like governance around it is just like another, it's a couple extra loopholes to go through in order to, accomplish the same underlying thing.
And guys, thank you for the presentation. And about the trading competition, is it like students? It's between universities. Is it inside only Penn University? Is it only cryptocurrencies? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's cryptocurrency focused. It is, so our plan is to make it multi-university. I haven't hashed out the details in particular with the other guys yet at the other universities, but I was thinking it'd be fun to do like a little competition and like have each university recruit a team, but like have a whole like department dedicated to it, and seeing like whose university has like the best like P&L, Sharpe ratio, all that kind of like all those like metrics that are important, right? And like doing it that way, where it's like a school, like a competition between schools. That's like the tentative structure currently. Subject to change, but most likely that's what we're going to go for. It's going to be like multi-university spanning across the U.S. and also most likely partnered with one of the big central exchanges, either most likely either Binance or FTX.
Great, thank you.
So I would like to know a little bit about the KPIs that you guys have for your incubator. So how many do you see every year? When do you let them off into the world? And why not a third question? Because you guys are quite business focused, especially with Wharton. Do you find there is a shortage of developers amongst the founders?
Answer the second one. I'll hand it. That's an answer to the developer one. I'll get it to you. Yeah. So when it comes to the developer question, I'll have June answer the other part. But when it comes to developers, you're right. Warren is really business focused. It dominates the ethos of the school. And when it comes to our club, I'd say we're like 60, 70% like in like non-technical. But I wouldn't say it really hinders innovation, honestly, because there's still a lot of devs that exist within like the engineering ecosystem. And almost all the devs that exist within the engineering ecosystem that are like blockchain oriented want to be founders to some shape or form. And so we act as like a really good place for those people to go. So even though sure we might not have as many like engineering like focused kids as like, you know, Georgia Tech or like an MIT, right? We have enough to where they're constantly churning out really interesting things and wanting to build really interesting things. So I'd say it's not really an issue in sourcing projects as a result. But I'll have June talk a little bit about the KPIs.
So I think, I guess maybe just adding on to that as well, a lot of the maybe developers that would be interested in a lot of the developers that we do see, right, don't necessarily go through, you know, Penn Blockchain or active members of Penn Blockchain, right? A lot of the founders per se are maybe a little more non-technically oriented, right, through the business school and such, but they're core team members, right? You know, there's a lot of dev talent at Penn. There's a lot of CS focus, and if it's not through the blockchain, you know, a lot of the people who sort of, you know, create their own projects in a non-technical manner recruit, you know, the friends or people at Penn as well who, you know, have a CS background, have, you know, a Rust code or like a Java background, that we can, you know, rather than the boomers and such, right? I think it's a school where people are very opportunistic. People realize there's a lot of money to be made, and you know, if it requires, you know, changing your syntax of your code a little bit to make 3 times the amount of money, why not? As for the actual KPIs for incubation and such, so I guess maybe like personal background wise, right? I worked at sort of the maybe a competitor L1, but writing grants for them, right? And sort of what we used, and a lot of it is structured off of the initial tranche, which is like, hey, like we like your project, here's, you know, X amount of money, right, dependent on how well we think it's going to be, for starting off, right? Being able to get a, you know, 20-30% of your code base together, being able to sort of, you know, see maybe a basic go-to-market strategy and such, and then, you know, different tranches. And, you know, it's definitely hard to say because everything is like per project basis, but maybe an overall roadmap would be like, once you reach almost an MVP stage, revisit, get a second tranche of funding. Once you get that sort of beta test that product out, that's usually the stage where we connect with VCs / you know, recommend to go fundraise outside and get that maybe final stage of funding, right? I think I want to like re-establish that, you know, while like 200 grand, 400 grand for the whole year per se is, it's a lot of money, right? In the grand scheme of things, it's, you know, sort of a drop in the bucket, right? And our goal, obviously, over the next, you know, couple of years is to make that, you know, to maybe almost, you know, a viable product, right? Depending on how, you know, legislation and how legal sorts out, we could do dilutive grants and sort of get our dilutive grants and sort of get our, you know, almost operate basically like a fund, right? Right now it's non-dilutive, but a lot of our funding come from outside to fund this. You know, we can't support basically everyone through the whole process, right? That's, you know, require millions and millions of dollars most likely, and you know, I think fundraising has its both benefits as well. Like, sure, you're giving up part of your equity, but you get a lot more connections and you get a lot of more intro to the space. So it's sort of that step 0 to 1.
Yeah, thank you for your insights, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we have Michigan, who have actually partnered with Celo for quite a number of projects, and one of them is Uniswap, and in the end, Uniswap deployed on Celo. So we have Nasreen who will speak about this.
Ready? Hi, my name is Nasreen, and I will be presenting on Uniswap and the recent launch of Uniswap on Celo. So I recently graduated from the University of Michigan. I've been in the blockchain space since around 2018. I was the former president of blockchain at Michigan, and now I'm an advisor and also an operator of our soon-to-be launched DAO. So let's dive in. First thing, concept is of decentralized exchange. How many of you guys here know about Uniswap, know about decentralized exchanges? Oh, nice. Okay, so a lot of you. So this is going to be a lot of review, which is good. All right, so what is Uniswap? Uniswap is a fully decentralized exchange that was launched originally on Ethereum. What sets it apart is that it does not use an order book model, and the end user retains control of funds, and it works via liquidity pools. So V1 was launched in 2018, V2 in 2020, and then V3 most recently. And one of the most important things here is here. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so how many of you guys are familiar with like the traditional exchanges and the use of an order book model? Also, a lot of you. Cool. So order books again need a buyer and a seller to match. Oh, thank you. Cool. A buyer and a seller, their price needs to match in order for a trade to be made. In an order book model, if there isn't a match, then you have things called people called market makers, and these are entities that will buy or sell at any price, and that helps facilitate the trade. Obviously, in the decentralized world, that doesn't work as well because of gas fees and also the limited transaction per second rate. So Uniswap and came up with the model of liquidity pools. So a liquidity pool and this protocol incentivize people to have what effectively is a standing amount of money. And buyer and a seller does not have to wait to match up for a trade. Rather, they can trade with the pool itself. And so you can think about it as a bunch of users coming together to put money in, invest in it, and then also get fees back from any trade that is made. So you might also be wondering, okay, that's great, but how is the price set on whatever pool? And here's where the automated market maker system comes into play. So this is a really simple mathematical model. And the example I'm going to use is x times y equals k, where x and y are the tokens that are in the pool. Each pool has 2 tokens. There are some protocols that do multiple tokens in a pool, but Uniswap is 2. And k is a constant. So for example, if you want to trade like a token, basically k cannot ever change. So the price of x and y tokens has to be equal to that amount. And so the more token you add of one, the price will increase and decrease respectively. To be nitpicky, technically you can go over the constant if depending on the way you think about fees, but just for the most part, think about the constant staying constant. And then more money in a pool makes large trades easier. There's a slightly smaller price impact. And one of the other more important things to note is arbitrage. How many of you guys are familiar with the concept of arbitrage? Again, almost all of you. Anyone want to come up here and say it? No. So arbitrage is really essential to Uniswap because it basically makes sure that the price across pools stays relatively constant towards the market rate. If you have a pool that's trading like very low or very high, people will take the opportunity to do arbitrage, and then that will eventually force the price back to stable to what the market should be. So here's a little graph here, and you can kind of see how this all falls along a price curve. So Uniswap v3 made a lot of improvements to this, and one of their main goals was to increase capital efficiency and basically make this whole system work better. And so some of the things they've introduced are concentrated liquidity, active liquidity, ranged limit orders, and multiple fee tiers. And these are all now represented by NFT-based liquidity positions. So in Uniswap v2, it was an ERC20 token that represented your position, and they were fungible since you provided liquidity across the entire price curve. Now that has changed, so we can dive into that. So concentrated liquidity and active liquidity, the concept here is that when you provide your money into a pool, you can actually specify the price range that you want to be liquid at. So you can, let's say for like a stable coin, it doesn't really make sense to provide price like liquidity along the entire curve because stable coins normally trade within a very small margin. And so you can actually have deeper concentrated liquidity, as you can see on the graph towards the right, at a very specific range. Active liquidity is basically the same thing where if you the price moves out of range, the provider now their assets will shift towards one of the tokens, and you have 2 options there. You can wait for the market to move back, or you can rather update your price range. And how this works in terms of implementation is now the curve is no longer continuous. You have things that are demarcated by these boundaries called ticks, and then you can set your limit for your upper and lower bound based on that. Yeah, and I guess let's move on. Cool. So the next thing, obviously in an exchange, providing liquidity is one thing, but a lot of people are going to use it for swapping a currency for another. The name is an exchange. So a limit order in a traditional market is you want to buy or sell an asset at a very specific price. So you say, okay, if let's say this token reaches X price, I would like to buy it then. And so that order may or may not be filled in some future date. Uniswap v3 now gives you the power to do that based on range limit orders. So you approximate this general system by you provide liquidity at a fixed point. And then if the price crosses that range, as you can see on the diagrams to the right, I think that example is DAI and ETH. So if that crosses the range, your liquidity goes all towards the token and you can take that token out. The key difference here is that if the price crosses the range and then let's say the market reverses and it falls back down, you have to manually take out your token so the order is filled. So if you don't, you'll just become a normal liquidity provider. And so this is keep that in mind because there are some really cool projects, third-party projects that do this for a user. So you as the end user don't have to keep track of it. All right. So you might be wondering, okay, cool. Why are you doing a Uniswap crash course? And the answer is in April, Blockchain at Michigan, we wrote a proposal and we went through the Uniswap governance route. So we did our temperature check and the snapshot, and then we also did, we actually had it up to a vote. And that passed in April 2022. And so why we thought this was really, really important for Uniswap and also for Celo is that Uniswap gets to increase their total addressable market because Celo is a very mobile-first blockchain. Secondly, Celo gets access to capital efficiency, and Celo's green asset can now be traded in liquidity pools specifically for the green assets, which was a huge plus. And so obviously for Celo end users, they can just directly use Uniswap with their Celo tokens, and they get access to all the benefits of Uniswap v3. Celo can use Uniswap as a way to rebalance the reserve. I don't actually know the full details on how Celo rebalances its reserves, but I did read in our original proposal that I believe some of it's done through centralized exchanges. And so obviously as we push to a more decentralized world, it would be cool to do it on a decentralized exchange as well. And of course, increasing capital efficiency. So Celo stablecoins can trade within that small margin, and you can be a liquidity provider with a Celo stablecoin and have a specific margin in which you would like to trade. So that was a very fast crash course. Does anyone have any questions? This can be on Uniswap v3, but also about the proposal in general. So for the green asset liquidity pools, this is not something that Blockchain at Michigan does. It is something that we proposed that could happen. And I think there are a couple that exist right now. It's the MCO2 token, I believe, that can be traded with Uniswap. And there is some better outlines in the proposal itself, which I can send to you, that say there's some incentives for Uniswap and Celo. Some of the rewards from these trades will go directly back into the overall green initiatives that Celo has. So for the proposal, Uniswap is pretty straightforward. We initially drafted the proposal working with people from the Celo Foundation and our club. That went through a bunch of internal reviews. And then what we did was we posted it for what they call a temperature check, which is where Uniswap general voters can read it and kind of tell you, hey, we think this might pass. Here's what you need to improve. There are a couple of stages of that. And then once that was done, Uniswap has a front end where you can submit your proposal, and then it was voted on through there. So our Blockchain at Michigan has a governance team. I am not directly involved with that, but I have the contact information of the person who actually wrote the proposal in the slides. But basically, I think it was a team of 4 people, and I think they did it in half a semester, so a couple of months. But I know that the idea was there a little bit earlier than that. So there were initial preliminary talks that took a while, and then I think the actual proposal was written in a couple of months. You mean filing through Uniswap to deploy, or no? I think our club had relationships with Celo through some of the startups that we had that launched on Celo and went through the Celo acceleration accelerator. So since we had that existing relationship, we thought the person in charge of governance, Ishan, he I think was the one who had the idea originally to do this. And then we were able to work with Celo, and Celo was very receptive to it as well, and so was Uniswap. Yep. Well, I mean, it depends on like what we're using the chain for. So like in my personal like development stuff, when I was doing research, I actually didn't use any of these public blockchains. Mine were all private and permissioned chains. Some of the factors include like transaction per second rate, the gas fees, the addressable market. So like if I'm doing something that requires a lot of transactions, I probably wouldn't want to do it on Ethereum base. I'd want to do it on like a layer 2 solution that allows for greater transactions. If I, again, like let's say I wanted a lot of mobile users or very like niche, like microeconomic use cases, Celo would be a good choice. Obviously Celo is another good choice for carbon offset stuff and their green initiatives. I guess, yeah, I can hand the mic to anyone else if you guys have other. Oh, yeah. Yep.
One other distinguishing factor is like sector. Depending on what sector you're building in, and also like whether or not you want to capture the market, right? So like for example, like if I wanted to capture like the largest TAM right now, I think opportunity wise would be like probably building like the biggest blockchain game on like one of the new move blockchains, right? So like, but that's not even like I'm not even thinking like chain capabilities. I'm just thinking like, oh, like what's the biggest like monetary opportunity there in terms of like who hasn't captured value yet, right? So.
Might be personal, but but first thing to look at is just rapport of the chain. You know, there's some chains that are big and some chains you just don't want to mess with at all. Whether it's from, you know, I'm not gonna say anything, but whether it's from just like PR, just from like, you know, vibes, you gotta vibe check the chain.
Yeah.
I think second is sort of the addressable market. How many transactions actually happen, and I guess the cost associated with those transactions. And then I think almost as important is the funding capabilities, whether that be your grants and tooling as well.
If you're building a finance app, whether it's for consumers or like more, I guess you would say like enterprise clients, cash in, cash out is big. So for consumers, this is a bit, Celo is actually doing a great job at tackling this. For enterprise, I'd say like nothing beats Ethereum and USDC. But that is definitely like when you start building for enterprise clients, that'll definitely limit the chains you could build on. But yeah, Celo is doing a good job with consumer cash in, cash out.
Any other Uniswap questions? All right, then I have, so the original goal of this whole thing was actually to have all of you guys pull out your laptops and write a smart contract. And I think that was a little ambitious, seeing as I couldn't accomplish that in the 2 days that I had. So I'm going to walk you through kind of how far I got, where to go from here, and some of like the things. The Uniswap v3 is a little more like tough to develop on, just because there are a lot of new features. And again, all of the positions are NFTs now too, so that's like an added layer of like ownership. But I figured we could take a little deep dive. So kind of where to start, especially with Celo. So because this is very recently, yeah.
I don't know too much about Uniswap v3. So you said the positions are NFTs essentially. Is it like an ERC 1155 or do they still use 721 or?
Yeah, ERC 721. So before each position was represented as a ERC 20 token, because your position, you provided liquidity across the entire price range. So there was nothing unique about it. You provide liquidity the same as like anyone else did. But now, since you can specify like your price range or your ticks, like where you want to stay in, then that makes it unique. And you can also provide liquidity across multiple different pools, like multiple different price ranges that can overlap, and then it gets really complicated too.
So for every new position, a new NFT is minted.
Yes, I'm like.
Wouldn't it be cheaper to do it with an 1155 instead of having?
All I know is from the Uniswap docs. I'm pretty sure every time you change, like every time you make a new position, you do mint an NFT, at least from what I understand. But if anyone knows better and can correct that, go for it.
Because like the fees earned by liquidity providers aren't like proportional to their like portion deposited into the yield farm, since as you're saying they are deploying liquidity at different price ranges. So unlike the LP, it's not like necessarily an interest bearing, like everyone doesn't accrue at the same rate.
Yeah, you can also have like their V3 has like you can have 0.05, 0.3, and 1%. Like they're different fee ranges too. Yeah.
On the different pool fee tiers.
So the way I understood it, again from the docs, is 1% is like for some of the more exotic pairings. 0.3 is like it is 0.3%. Yeah, is like the more basic. That was the one that was in V1 and V2, and then 0.05 is also used for some of the things that might not, I think, are slightly less volatile. I think is the smaller fee. I could have some of those flipped though, but yeah, they're just when you become a liquidity provider, you can choose your fee. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to see if your opinions are similar to mine, right? But personally, and with talking with others, I think V3 is horrible for the liquidity provider and very optimized for the trader. The liquidity, percentages is just essentially whatever swap gets most optimized through what percent is what's chosen. The actual mechanisms behind V3 is it's a trader optimized, a framework per se, right? There's multiple studies out there that the Uni V2 all price range essentially pretty much beats V3 in terms of like profit for the liquidity provider in basically every scenario except where V3 has very wide ranges. And so at that point, you're essentially just providing a V2 liquidity pair. I'm curious. Yeah.
I have one kind of add-on thought to that, and it's can't you do like synthetic options with with having like multiple different Uniswap V3 positions, and you can like essentially buy like covered calls, and if you're doing that, it could be more beneficial to the liquidity provider. Yeah, true. Because you get more granular. You could have like any customized position.
Great. Okay, so now I'm on the hot seat. I will preface all of this by saying I actually am very new to the DeFi space because again, like I said, I did permissioned and like research stuff before. That being said, I don't think I've actually been in the space long enough to have an opinion on like this specific discussion. So yeah, I'm learning from you guys. If you ask Ishan though, like send him DM him on Twitter. I have his Twitter on here, and he will have hot takes for you guys. Ishan and Colin from Blockchain in Michigan will have very hot takes for you guys. All right. So yeah, if you wanted to, let's say, start first, you need to create a testnet wallet on Celo, and then the issues that I ran into. How many of you guys use Windows subsystem for? You're not gonna have a fun time with this, at least as far as I can tell. so you have to set up the Celo command line tools to work with Hardhat. I recommend using Hardhat as your dev environment if you're doing anything with Uniswap, as they have like a really good tutorial that lets you just get started pretty much instantaneously with it. However, connecting Uniswap with Celo with the Celo command line tools is where I was not able to go any further. So you might have luck if you're on a Mac or just not doing Windows subsystem for Linux. All right. That being said, the two main parts of Uniswap, they have two. It's the core and the periphery. The core is basically two main smart contracts. That's the factory and the pool deployer. Pools are created by the factory. So if you want to initiate a new pool or provide liquidity to it, that's the contract that'll be doing the heavy lifting. And then there's a bunch of stuff in the periphery. And this is all the functions that you're going to call if you ever want to change your liquidity, like add or remove liquidity and anything like that. So with that being said, so also I mentioned that the positions are now NFTs. If you take a look on the right-hand side, that's actually the NFTs, how they look. Uniswap v3 has like built-in like generative art. So the one on the far right is like a random example, and then the one on the left is actually a legitimate pool on Uniswap. And so you have you can see your min and max tick at the bottom. That's like the range that you're providing the liquidity in. You can kind of see the price curve, like a graphical representation of like the curve that you're providing liquidity on. And then your fee rate as well. So you can see the 0.05 and the 1%. So kind of a nice touch. Looks a little fancy. All right, so let's say you want to change liquidity. So the first thing that you're gonna have to do is set up like a base contract, because again, because these are NFTs, ownership matters. So you just there's a base contract you set up. You can mint a new position. In this minting the new position, you have to hard code the address, and if you don't want to hard code the address, you have to have some other thing that will call the function to look up the address of the pool that you want. So in the example contract they have, it's just hard coded. So you have a periphery contract that is the non-fungible position manager. So you call the mint function and then you specify the amount. So there are parameters for the ticks, the liquidity you want to provide, and obviously the token addresses, what kind of token you want to provide liquidity in. And then collecting fees is very straightforward. You just call the collect function, and then decreasing and increasing liquidity, there is built-in functions as well with parameters. So how are we doing on time? Because I could walk through the whole contract, but I feel like this audience is also very well versed in Uniswap. So I don't know if I'll actually be adding much by walking through their contract. So
Speedrun it.
yeah, no, we're good. I think this is probably a little more important. So why this matters, with obviously Uniswap has a very good front end, and I can quickly demonstrate the front end as well right at the end. But where you can go is you can automate like weekly deposits to a certain price point, because obviously doing it manually to the front end is no fun when you can just send it from a command line, right? There is a feature. This is an existing feature. I don't know if they've done it for Celo yet, but it is a tool that helps users select price ranges to hold positions at, and like helps aggregate liquidity from different users and then provides it all at once. And if you Google Arrakis, like Uniswap, you'll find it. You can also do write a tool that allows people to benefit from like range limit orders. So like I said, for those things you have to manually pull your token or liquidity out. And then there's these pools that already exist. So you can trade ETH to Celo and then Celo to the carbon offset token. So yeah, really quickly, I can exit out of this. And so right here, you see this is your traditional Uniswap interface. I had my wallet connected. I don't think it is right now, but you can select the Celo or the Celo testnet. I've tried the Uniswap front end on the Alpha Horus testnet and it works perfectly. And then this is some of, maybe if it loads. This is some of the trades so far since launch of Uniswap on Celo. So you can see some of the top pools is the MCO2 token, and then obviously Celo to USD, to the Euro, and to ETH. So these are some of the trades that are happening. And then you can also have a new position for liquidity, and you can do that through the front end as well. So you can select your token. You can select some of this is grayed out, but you can select your fee tier, and then kind of customize all those parameters that I talked about for V3. Alrighty, I think that's all for me. Happy to hear the Uniswap discourse at the networking session. I think it's going to be fun. Any last minute questions? Yeah.
If you click into the optional chains next to the connect wallet button, you'll see like pretty much just Ethereum mainnet, 3 layer 2s, and then Celo. Do any of you guys have like an opinion on like, I guess like why Celo is like the only other like layer 1 chain? Well, Celo is another layer 1, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a layer 1,
layer
but
1.
it's
Yeah, it's a EVM compatible chain. Yeah, but it's layer 1, and it's unique because it's like kind of like Uniswap's first foray into like mobile first users, which is because all the other ones here, like the way you use them is pretty much your MetaMask or something like that on your laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So I think one thing we can all agree on is that like mass onboarding into decentralized exchanges and technology is very important. Do you see like a V3 as a little bit more technical and maybe a little bit more confusing to like a more novice user? Do you think that's problematic, or just let's get the best, most innovative technology out there?
I will say V3, I find it more complicated. Like when I was putting together this presentation, like it was a challenge to read through all the docs to like understand it well enough to explain it. But I don't think like for the end user, I think it's less of a blockchain issue and more like, do you understand exchanges? And so like for me, I have a lot of blockchain knowledge, but I have very little econ knowledge. So I actually struggled more on just the whole concept of like, okay, what is like swaps and like getting fees back and stuff like that. I think even if this wasn't like a blockchain thing, it would be the same level of struggle for like someone like me who might not have a super strong financial background going into it. But that's my take. Could be wrong.
I was just curious, is there anything particular about the Uni V3 model that makes it attractive for natural capital assets as opposed to just a regular order book?
I think, well, regular order books are again more like a centralized mechanism anyway, and they don't like the order book model doesn't really work as well in decentralized like for blockchain because again you have to have a market maker, and so like the liquidity pool model and the automated market maker is I think the main draw. But I guess in terms of like specifically trading like Celos and the green asset, I think V3 is helpful because it has this like concentrated liquidity, so you can trade it at like the narrow price that it would because I feel like carbon credits are not going to have like wildly different prices.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Solana has an order book like DEX, right? So it's just possible you just need high throughput. So like Solana and like move-based blockchains because they have like 6-figure TPS, so like finality, right? Parallel transactions. You can like facilitate order book DEXs, potentially on-chain order book perps. If anyone wants to build that, that'd be sick. But yeah, it's usually just the fact that you don't really have high throughput on most blockchains.
Yeah. So like something like Uniswap wouldn't like cannot have a order book model. Yeah.
Wait, how do they facilitate that?
Yeah, I had
I thought there's a centralized market maker that's back in the trades. Oh yeah, that's like DYDX. Like,
Okay, so up next, we are going to change tracks a little bit and dive into the more corporate side of things. So to start, we have a startup, Fly Wallet. In fact, some of you are here, courtesy of Thomas, and he will share a little bit about his journey.
Thank you, TC. Happy to be here. A year ago, I was sneaking into the Celo salon, into the ETH parties, and right now I'm pitching. So it's a good feeling to be here right now, guys. TC, there'll be some videos too. So yeah. So yeah, like she said, we're switching gears a little less informative, more like entertaining, and also inspirational. But just to go through the founder journey. I think this segment is called the startup experience sharing. So being a founder isn't always easy. It's not easy, but it's rewarding. So I hope that you guys like it.
Okay, we'll start now. Okay, let's take your seat back and we go again. Thank you.
Okay, check, Mike. So Flywallet, a Web3 travel agency. Go. Okay, well, the background isn't showing up. I don't know, usually it's a purple background, but it doesn't matter. The most important part is here. Travel is the only expense that makes you richer. When you're a founder, it's all about the passion. It's all about the mission that you have behind your project. You know, it's your North Star. Um, Travel is an opportunity that my team and I really want to make accessible and available to everyone because it's an investment in yourself that has unlimited returns. And we really want to make it affordable and accessible to all. Experiences, memories, they're more valuable than things. And so this is why every day we try and make Flywallet more accessible and the user experience as open and straightforward to anyone who wants to go to a certain destination. We were talking about this over lunch, but booking a trip can be pretty intimidating. And we just really want to open up the space and innovate the user experience. Yeah, the whole design is messed up right now, TC, but technical difficulties. We're at a Web3 conference, we're having problems with PDFs. But this is the agenda. I'm going to talk real briefly a bit about myself. Then I'm going to go through the different stages of the Flywallet project. I defined it as a roller coaster. Then what Flywallet is today. And then finally, the importance of being a Web3 founder and how industries such as travel and so many others can actually, you know, benefit from this innovation. Yeah. That's a bit better. All right, so yeah, this is the agenda. So let's get to it. A bit about me. So Thomas, in French, I go by Thomas. My mother's English, so I grew up in Paris, not speaking a word of French until the first day of school. You could see my face; I was a bit lost. But it was a great place to grow up. A very international city, as you guys can tell. Due to me speaking English, I went to the U.S., graduated from Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. Studied international relations. Always had a dream to, you know, be the next, maybe, you know, a black president one day in France, or, you know, real aspirations to make the world a better place. Natural optimist here, you know, through and throughout. Got the best job I could get. Worked at the UN after I graduated for, you know, 4 years. Focused on financial inclusion, project management, and just really bring development in an organic way in developing countries. It was super rewarding, actually an amazing experience. You know, the UN is an amazing organization, but it remains politics, meaning that theory, mission is one thing, execution is another. And so just with, wisdom, experience, advice from mentors, the private sector is more interesting. And one thing led to another, and Fly Wallet came to be because the Sustainable Development Goals, we're talking a lot about financial inclusion. Fintech was booming at that time. And I really wanted to make an impact back home instead of being in third world countries. How could I help subcultures, inner city people back home really make the most of their money and financially empower them? So Fly Wallet came to be. The Fly Wallet journey. So Fly Wallet was born in 2018 and incepted really. We'll go a bit into it. And throughout the years, we're already in year 4 right now. There've been a lot of evolutions. I'll go phase by phase, but essentially in 2018, it was just an idea. I made a video animation just to really depict the project, depict the concept. Applied to a couple competitions, won them, and really from there, like that was the motivation I needed to just keep pushing. My desire, my passion to really make an impact really stuck with it, and we'll go through. Like, I have some cool content for you guys. Hope it's like entertaining for you and inspirational at the same time. But just a little anecdote per section. So 2018, Pitch Americas was a little competition online for different small projects. Global Impact for Startups was also an online competition that we won. Get Into the Ring, literally hilarious concept. They put you in a ring with another founder, and you both each pitch, and the jury kind of chooses the winner. It's literally a ring. And Durham University Launchpad. This is actually a breakthrough moment because I was pitching what Fly Wallet was, and this guy in the jury said, we already had active users saving with Fly Wallet. And he said, what you're doing is completely illegal, right? And I was like, well, what do you mean? You need a financial license to offer a financial service, because I was doing this. I shall get to that. Sorry for getting ahead. Okay. So this is the MVP. This is how Fly Wallet initially worked. This was on a Webflow. You upload a screenshot of the checkout page from your favorite travel website. So you go to Expedia, Delta.com, Skyscanner. You go to the last page, you screenshot that. You add the file, you add your email, and you add the number of payments that you'd like to pay for it. Like, that's as down to earth as it started. This is actually what got us all of the prizes at the very start. But little did we know, it was completely illegal. So how it worked was like this. I'm gonna read it real quick. Like, thanks for starting a Fly Wallet. Save every week or month until you have reached your goal and are ready to pay for your next trip. You can top up and add funds at any given moment. Even your friends and family can contribute as long as they use the same email address you use, like super manual. If you wish to book with your Fly Wallet funds, send us an email and we will make sure to assist you. You can check your balance anytime via the Fly Wallet website. We would update the user's balance manually, because it wasn't automated, so that they could track their funds. And remember that we do not refund. The money in your Fly Wallet is only for travel. No matter how long it takes, you're flying. So we did this to kind of loophole the fact that you're doing a buyer's agreement. You're not saving funds. You're not stocking funds. You're kind of like paying us as a concierge service. And we presented this at the Durham University competition, and the guy wrecked us. Like, he was like right now you could be money laundering for all we know. You could be financing I don't know what activity. And so this was just a thank you message. Congratulations, your flights were successfully reserved. Thanks for paying the first 50%. So again, booking a flight can be intimidating. The flight price can be too big. So just the fact of being able to fraction it, just made the experience so much more pleasant. Yeah, go ahead with the video. This is the video that we had for the longest. Like the whole project was around this video. And today it's amazing that it's still uniform, it's still constant. You have to have that same vision from the beginning. Nothing really changes. If you can get still relevant today, which is cool, to see, because it's the same. All we had was the web flow and this, literally. Always like to put travel forward, it's the only expense that makes you richer. It's a smart investment. Spend it on experiences, not things, trying to educate people. Impact is why we do what we do. Paying for travel just got easy. That's still what we're doing. That's the So here we entered stage 2. That first MVP was really, was successful in its own way. It led us to join the Station F Founders Program. Station F, big startup campus in Paris, which was a great, boost in just credibility. We were able to hire our first engineers, really be on the travel tech map, kind of, but we got shut down due to this, this hole where you need to be financially regulated to operate. And so we kind of had to refund all of our users, we're talking like, 200K, back to users that have provided us with funds to travel. And so it was like a rebirth, like we reincorporated in the right jurisdiction. We made the right partnerships and just rebuilt really solid with a logo that has changed again, but is better. Right when we were ready to go back out, what happens, COVID comes, like with the travel industry, which resulted, one of the co-founders quitting, saying, I put all this time aside for the project. COVID is here. This is not, and just the grind, it's just been the grind since then. I have another video. This is a good one that we put together. Just another founder journey of the second stage of being a founder in the jungle. This is at Station F, by the way. And welcome, City Lab is a travel incubator. behind the scenes, behind the scenes. "24/7 on the job." You had people from Air France. And to this day, no money, no problem. We'll take you there. It's still accurate. Classic. An advisor who doesn't know the name of your company. And we didn't have another call after that. And there's a part 2 if you want to check on YouTube, but to know if we got in or not. We'll continue with the presentation now. So this was stage 2, 2019, 2020, when COVID came to be. And where we are today is the Flyweight that has come out of COVID. We have 2,500 monthly active savers across Web 2 and Web 3. This is using euros, pounds, dollars, CUSD, and CEuro. All that amounts to over $1 million in total value saved. TVL here, and yeah, it's been amazing. The boom has actually come really from the Web3 integration because it's being globally accessible. I was saying this over lunch, is that before we were really like constrained jurisdictions, only Europe, only US, because we're offering a financial service, that's very regulated, banks, and just this opportunity to, and I actually did mention it here. But anyway, the interaction with the Celo Foundation has been like, adding a match to oil, just really enabling us to accomplish the mission that we set out to. We still have a lot of things to do, but it's a huge accomplishment so far. How we're really operating, we're really leveraging communities. So, for example, the Celo community is basically our central one. People coming to the conference, people traveling, wanting to spend their CUSD. We really operate as like a front end, as an off ramp, but without doing the off ramping ourselves. But people who just receive CUSD and want to spend it, they see Flywallet as really like a convenient way to do that, a cash out solution. Big keep, more crypto wallets. You know, we really want to be adapt on their browsers. Travel has a benefit. Fringe is one in the US, but it's really a sector that we really want to go for, like, you know, especially with remote work, travel benefits, I mean, is ideal. Good ghosting, we just recently, good ghosting is an amazing, anyone know good ghosting here? Yeah, good ghosting, amazing Celo project, and also on Polygon, but they've gamified savings. We're also not gamifying the savings, but really targeting the savings, which gives you purpose. And we just finished an amazing pool with them recently. Flow Carbon is a carbon offsetting protocol, and AWS recently we became part of their incubator, and we're trying to really offer their company perks on their company perk page. But the secret sauce behind Flywallet is really, like I said before, the mission that we have, you know, is very targeted towards empowering others. But there's this huge community that the travel industry completely overlooks, and they're called VFRs, visiting friends and relatives. These are people who need to travel. We don't travel like maybe some of us here, I'm assuming, this is a pure assumption, but travel for leisure or fun. They travel back to their home country out of necessity because their family is living there, or it's the family emergency. No matter how expensive the flight price is, you know, that's part of their budget. And so these are the most loyal people who are using the Flywallet platform today. Here are 4 real users, you know. One's like an immigrant. She goes back to see her family every year. One's a burnt out, or an employee, you know, who lives abroad, likes to come back and forth. Religious devotees, parents. These are people with passports, credit cards, but they're, you know, the travel industry completely overlooks them. And so Flywallet is here to really make travel more inclusive. So we're getting here now. Maybe this is still on your mind. How does Flywallet work? You pick your destination, you set a monthly budget all on the platform, either with your debit card or your crypto wallet. And then you book on the go through the platform. And some features are still rolling out and iterating, but no one's really doing what we're doing, you know, targeting this community like we are VFRs, and also bringing together this crypto, this Web3 and Web2 experience completely merged together. So this is how Flywallet looks today. This says video. If you guys want to see how it works, just, you know, create an account and get it going. Maybe if you want to gift your parents, you know, a trip for Christmas, you know, start, you know, saving or use your crypto for that. By all means. It's okay. So just to close it. So who's building the best crypto wallet for normal people? Like inclusivity, mainstream adoption, you know, is the big topic, you know. How are we gonna bring more people to these conferences? You know? How are we gonna pitch to arenas, you know? And so Flyweight has that ability to really, you know, be that camouflage. You know? We've taken a position, you know, just joining the Celo community or just joining the Web3 community. It kind of has added a new purpose to the project. The initial one, making travel affordable and inclusive to all, but the other one is just like making crypto, making blockchain accessible to everyone, you know? As Howard Bush said, you know, like VP product innovation at MasterCard, you know, crypto has to become invisible. I keep saying that and I sound like a broken record, but it has to disappear in the background for a user who doesn't care. Honestly, my mom doesn't care if it's centralized finance or DeFi. This is like can be a shot to the, the purists, in the crowd, in the industry, or the builders, who are in the background, like I take maybe an iPhone or a TV, you know what I mean? The engineer or a car for that matter, the engineers in the background, they're not getting all the credit, it's maybe the guy who chose the, the color or the shape. And that's just, I feel for that. But for mainstream adoption, we really have to hide it completely. And so Fly Wallet, when a user comes onto the platform, they shouldn't be asking themselves how it works. They don't care how it works. It's what does it do for me? So again, our elevator pitch here, at least in Web3 conferences, is Fly Wallet makes travel affordable with DeFi and sustainable with refi. It's a huge work in progress. We're sewing the men's underneath the hood, but this is where we're trying to get to. And the role of Fly Wallet in the manifesto of blockchain technology is to make it mainstream. This is the position we play, a real use case solving a real problem and accessible to all. At the end, we all win if we bring more people into the space. High-level roadmap. So the fiat product is out. The DApp integrations are good. Expanding cross-chain. So we're working on integrating USDC on Polygon to have more reach. We really want to embed in merchant sites. So this is like the next big milestone, really want to be a payment method for travel companies, travel agencies. The Fly Wallet token, I'm really taking my time on this. Spoken to it during lunch a bit. Fly Wallet, you can only really launch a token once. The amount, how it's done has to be done correctly. Crypto space is moving so fast, it doesn't forgive. So we want to bring, do that properly with NFTs. There's also, an amazing project with Insuro. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Insuro. They're doing insurance NFTs. Add accommodations one day in the mobile app. We, it's the marathon continues and we're just really going slowly but surely. So yeah, travel is a luxury out of reach for too many. So Fly Wallet is here to, change that. And yeah, pleasure presenting to you guys, and give me a follow on Twitter. Let's hang out after. And yeah, thanks so much. If there's any questions, absolutely.
So I used Fly Wallet once, but I couldn't, I found a flight on like another travel website, but that flight wasn't on Fly Wallet. But you said that when you guys first launched, people would take screenshots of their flight, and so you would be able to get them any flight. Are you gonna, I guess in the future, do you want to make sure that that's a possibility where you can get any flight?
Yeah, definitely. At that time, we hadn't really reached the traction to be able to apply for this API. It's an aggregate API. You can basically integrate the travel search, and booking inside the platform. So that's what we have right now, and we're kind of limited to what they have. The content that they have on their platform is what we can. So if it's not there, I mean, it's a bit of dependence on their technology. But ultimately, absolutely, we would to be directly with airlines, in terms of any flight search that you can, any flight that you're interested in, we're able to display it and provide it. It's we get that, a lot, I can't find this flight on Fly Wallet, or the flight price is different. We're kind of a bit locked in because of that situation. We're really providing, if you want to spend, your tokens on it, by all means. But in terms of travel, we're getting there. It's it's a process, but yeah, like, and also Kiwi is specialized in like interlining. So if you want to take like, if it's business class, so if it's a direct flight, you know, if it's a clean cut flight with an airline, like it's better to book it directly with the airline. But if you're ready to, you know, do like a 4, 5, 10 hour layover, you know, go through New York to LA to get to Houston, you know, like we got those routes locked in. But yeah.
And what's the API that you guys use to?
Kiwi.com has an amazing API. Actually, they're all coming out with APIs. Expedia's, Skyscanner too. But Kiwi, what we like is the interlining part. Like they really have a great algorithm that calculates like from A to B. They'll give you every option. Well, almost every option.
So does that mean every flight that you can see on Kiwi's website, you can see on Flywallet's
Yeah,
website?
yeah. And they do hide some, but yeah.
Are you guys funded?
No, like it's well, we have we've won a lot of grants. We have Floyd Ventures, which is a Celo backed venture group. We're funded by them, you know.
Oh, so you did raise around?
It's a pre-round, you know. It's really it's part of, because we were part of Celo Camp. Floyd kind of like, you get like honorary, you know, investment. But no, I'm actively fundraising. Actually, we're actually funding ready.
What's your round?
We're raising a pre-seed, 2 million. Just you know,
at a
10 million valuation.
So I'm sure you've got this question before, but might as well ask. What is like in your mind the key difference between Flywallet and things like Afterpay or Klarna, which are also like the buy now, pay later model?
Yes, like layaway for travel. It's just really it's the user experience, you know. Like what difference in a Flywallet to them is me, you know. It's like the team, the mission, the vision, you know. Like the competition is good because people are gonna try, you know. They're gonna try what suits me best. But above all is also the user experience, what I just said, because Klarna, buy now, pay later is credit, you know. Like there was this tweet saying, if you had to define credit, like in the least words possible, it's literally buy now, pay later, you know, like, and it's just reversing the definition of it. And so that kind of locks people in. And we really want to just to give people that flexibility. So I'm eyeing this flight. Okay, I don't have to commit. I'm just putting money aside. How I would react to it. Yeah, putting the user first is always the motto. And that's actually my, you know, my thoughts. You know, as I'm a non-technical founder, I'm the user. You know, like I'm the user. Like, you know, and so I use it the most. So it's if you can please one person, you can please a million, as they say.
How do you see the like user flow or user interaction changing with like a mobile app? Do you anticipate it being more like Klarna or the Afterpay, where it's basically like that embedded web browser, which would kind of let you check out on, like how Max was saying, like different sites, or would it still be like crypto native, or what's kind of the idea there?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's actually like a fork in the road. You know, do we want Flywallet to be, you know, a crypto wallet, or do we want it to be like a DApp, you know, for, you know, different wallets? But in terms of how the app will work, like it's a phase where we want to have the whole travel experience included, like pre-booking, well, obviously the booking, but you know, accommodations too, maybe activities. Like it's really creating that proper compression of all of the features we want to give. So that's why I'm kind of like really, you know, we're really taking our time making sure that we have this value on desktop, you know, online, and then maybe, yeah, that's why you raise, that's why you pay experts for, you know, to really like, you know, make it cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. That's stealth mode, man. Stealth mode. Oh, thank you guys.
I have one more question.
Yeah, definitely.
Or maybe it's more of like what are your thoughts on this recommendation rather than a question? But you said you guys like had a good ghosting savings pool. Do you think it would be cool to like have like your own good ghost, or not good ghosting, but like your own kind of savings pool, like within the app, so that maybe people can like like every time they have like extra money or something, they can like put it in that pool, and then when they like build up enough, maybe you like match it or something, and then help people like get more flights or something, like points.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Fly wallet coin farming.
Yeah, no, this like things is that what's amazing about this space is that the creativity is a limit. As Mike said during your presentation, it's just that so much can be done. Embedding it together is just together we can go. But also collaborating with other projects. Helps you. Bring more traction instead of just doing it ourselves. Like so many wallets out there, so many tokens, whereas if minds could just get together and create amazing projects, you can go so much further. But yeah, we'd love to talk more about it, after, because automating your gains, to go into your Fly wallet across all of your tokens, for example, like would be ideal, but yeah, lots to do for sure.
Props.
Thank you, man.
Okay, so we are going from startup to big four. So for our last session of the day, we will have a presentation by Accenture. So please welcome.
Vas-y. Push. App, voilà. Vas-y. Allô, testing, testing. Vous m'entendez bien? Cool. Donc ça, c'est bouger à droite. Ok, nickel. Bon, on a combien de temps? Ok, bon, j'essaie d'être... Cool. Hey, everyone. I'd like to thank the blockchain community and Cryptosphere for the warm welcome to present today. It's great to see everyone. I'm Courtney Williams. I'm leading Accenture's go-to-market offering for digital financial markets across France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. It's quite a new job for me, so still a lot to do, a lot to grow, a lot to build. So I reached out to Laurie to meet new faces and to become part of the network and to tell you about what we're doing at Accenture. Does anyone know about Accenture? Who's aware of this company? Okay. Okay, a few people. So I just want to start out so you understand where I'm coming from. So I'm part of our technology and innovation ecosystem, which includes Song and our global tech innovation teams. We're organized into units of which are open innovation, research, labs, tech incubation, and tech delivery via our Liquid Studios. Yes. Clicker. There we go. Up. So I'm part of our tech incubation organization, where we aim to incubate new technology in order to create new markets and to scale our business. Okay. If we take a bigger zoom, within tech incubation, I'm sitting in our blockchain practice as part of our digital financial markets team, which overlaps with our Metaverse Continuum business group within digital financial markets. So we help to imagine, design, and strategize on how blockchain can be applied within financial services and how those new ecosystems of actors will work together in new ways. So I apologize for the font. It didn't come out right on the screen, so normally it looks a little bit better than this. Focus for some time has been digital money. We work with central banks globally to experiment and implement central bank digital currencies. We also work with financial service providers in their rollout of digital assets and to help them adopt new tech capabilities around custody, all while helping shape strategy at the business level and the industry level through our active dialogue with clients and public-private industry partners. At Accenture, we see blockchain technology as a foundational capability of the metaverse. It's clear that the real and virtual are converging to deeply immerse our senses, emotions, identities, and communities. The metaverse recognizes that there is a physical world, a digital world, and a fusion underway that requires a new way to define our place in this world as people and as society. New economies, business models, currencies, regulations, opportunities, and risks are rising, and we are officially entering the metaverse. In a few short years to come, the metaverse will reach a billion of people, host hundreds of billions of dollars of digital commerce, and support jobs for millions of creators and developers. As we move closer to the full realization, digital landscapes and dimensional media will continuously become more a part of our everyday physical lives, and we'll have a feeling of true depth and presence in our digital experience on the web and in virtual spaces. Our identities will be shareable and verifiable across various experiences, both physical and digital. Our personas and our devices will also be able to share with others in the new tokenized economy. This will be brought to fruition with lighter and faster devices used to view the world around us, the digital experiences that inhabit it, and the digital world that we step into. So the metaverse is an immersive place that allows you to combine emerging and innovative technologies into completely new experiences that we've only begun to imagine. If we break down the metaverse into simple dimensions, first, it's a place you can go to meet. It's also a population of people who gather in these places and interact with each other, just as in the real world. And in the metaverse, you can also buy property, sometimes in closed environments, controlled by central authorities, or also other platforms where properties could be bought and sold across a variety of platforms. This brings us to our last P, portability, which is crucial as we think about assets moving. Who will custody those assets in the future, and how will portability be provided? The debate and the race for the future of the internet is unfolding. Business models shifts, substantial amounts of investment is going in, there's acquisitions, headlines are changing every day. What's next, what's new in big tech? Each player are coming from different visions and with different beliefs about what the metaverse might become. Venture capital is investing heavily to generate new ways of solutions that aim to reimagine the marketplace of the future. And just a few examples here on the slide. While the big players are moving and reacting to the technology shifts, the everyday person is finding new ways to find more value for themselves. So what is the metaverse? There are many definitions of what the metaverse is based on and depending on who you ask and what their ambition is in building and participating in it. Some see it as a connected virtual reality world. Some see it as augmented reality, immersively layering digital layers on a physical world. Some focus on just their narrow part of the metaverse, like CRM or platforms, while others focus on commerce or decentralized networks. At this point, the metaverse's ultimate shape will be in a place that is inclusive of all these definitions. Now, Accenture's definition. Our definition is inclusive to helping our partners and our clients build and operate experiences in the metaverse, whatever shape it becomes, from mobile 2D screens of the day to the fully immersive experiences of tomorrow. We aim to be expansive in supporting how technology and behaviors converge. So our definition is an evolution of the internet that enables us to move beyond browsing to participating or inhabiting in a persistent shared experience that spans the spectrum of our real world to a fully virtual world and in between. This year, Accenture decided to make a bold move by launching a dedicated business unit called the Metaverse Continuum Business Group. That explains why I've been talking about Metaverse for the past 5 minutes. We formed a unique view that the Metaverse should be looked at through many angles on a continuum which spans experience, technology, work, operations, to the business itself. The continuum aligns to our end-to-end services across all Accenture, spanning the key areas on which client will need our help. Learn and vision, metaverse strategy, engage to scale, and operate uniquely. Just a sec. So in metaverse experience will cover payments, customer experience, employee experience, the products you make, how you make your products, supply chain, and enterprise management. Just a minute. I'm crashing. This works. You have sound?
Welcome everyone to event 4. Beautiful. Welcome to Accenture Virtual Reality. This is Accenture bringing forth the power of human ingenuity and technology.
We have over 30 locations or centers of excellence across the globe.
Welcome to our talent town hall.
We're standing in Accenture's metaverse right now. We call our metaverse and floor.
Listen to all of the norms of the island go through that. Yeah.
manually, if you could. Yeah, so now at Accenture, we have new hires, particularly in North America, but more in Europe as well. My company sent me a VR headset so I can have team meetings and stuff. That's real. It's not just for video and promotion. We actually use the metaverse at the office. This naturally, our 2022 technology vision has been themed Meet Me in the Metaverse. As we can see, the next generation of the internet is starting to take shape. We aim to play a key role in building bridges and federating stakeholders to create greater value through collective innovation. Realizing the vision of the metaverse will require the building of new bridges, new payment rails with on-ramps and off-ramps suited for purpose and application. And this is where we play. And I want to mention, we recognize the importance of getting responsibility right from the start, and that we have an obligation as a business to play our part. We're doing a lot of work in the area of responsibility and also on sustainability in terms of looking at energy consumption. We research what sustainable approaches, for example, around consensus that could be built into the metaverse architecture by design. At the same time, we believe there's probably no better technology than the metaverse in terms of re-engineering and reimagining work to fundamentally operate in a more sustainable way. So why am I here in front of you? Here in Europe and in France, we are in build mode. We're building our business, our capabilities, and expanding our talent pool across geographies. We have a real ambition to position in the European metaverse and blockchain space, which we're driving through talent recruitment, ecosystem engagement, corporate investment, and go-to-market strategy. That is to say, we are hiring talented innovation thought leaders, visionaries, and doers. We recruit talented and passionate people who are motivated to keep aware of industry maturity and adoption trends, who embody passion, curiosity, and applied inventiveness, who are technology enthusiasts and capability architects with a vision to shape the business models and products of tomorrow, today, as well as the foreseers of the impacts and the opportunities in sight for an industry or several industries. So just to give you a little bit of history, because I said at the beginning a few minutes ago that the Metaverse group is decent. This team existed beforehand. So we're from a team of established thought leaders in DLT and financial service space. The digital financial markets team, the team in which I am. So we have been working with leading financial institutions globally for several years. And I'll tell you about a project I led for the past 2 years, just next. So just to say a little about Project Jura, the type of project that, if you are interested in working with us one day, the type of project you might find yourself on. So Project Jura was an Accenture, was a project we started in June 2020 with an Accenture-led consortium to perform a cross-border wholesale CBDC. So that's central bank digital currency, or money numérique de banque centrale in French, as part of the Banque de France experimentation program. The experiment involved the issuance of a tokenized financial instrument denominated in euro as a commercial paper, a cross-border purchase of a tokenized financial instrument by a EU-based bank against euro wholesale CBDC, a secondary transaction with tokenized financial instrument, and it leveraged a novel dual notary swap technology developed by Corda R3 to provide enhanced control of the wholesale CBDC for the central banks during the FX swap of Swiss wholesale CBDC against euro wholesale CBDC. This project deployed a new architecture which may give central banks comfort to issue wholesale CBDC on foreign third-party platforms. Ultimately, this experiment tested the limits of the distribution of wholesale CBDC through its innovative architecture, which it provided to non-resident financial institutions access to CBDC. It showed that allowing wholesale CBDC to coexist on a single platform, cross-border payments can flow directly between financial institutions in this ecosystem. So, and to wrap up, to show you the scale of this project, for example, so this was a project with all these actors involving all of these banks in all of these jurisdictions. It's the kind of scale of the work we do. And to end the presentation, I'll leave you with a 2-minute video